Okay, I'm very excited to introduce everybody to Trisha Taylor. She is coming to us live from the Sunshine Coast of Australia. And just so you can all get your bearings, Trisha's time zone is 15 hours ahead of our Eastern time zone. So it's actually Sunday morning at 1:20 in the morning, approximately. So we are ever grateful to Trisha for joining us at this difficult hour.
It's a joy. I'm very honored to be asked.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you. Trisha is based in Moreton Bay, Queensland, Australia. Now, I had to listen to the Zoom pronunciation, and there are many ways to pronounce that word, but I'm not sure if I got it right. Trisha is a master pastelist with the Pastel Society of Australia and has been so since 2011. She has won many awards, including Pastelist of the Year in 2010. Her work has been published in a variety of national art magazines, including Australian Artist, Art Edit, and Paint and Draw Magazine UK. Trisha has been teaching pastels from beginner to advanced students for many, many years, and her workshops are in demand in Australia and internationally, including Fiji, New Zealand, France, and the USA. And she spoke a little bit earlier during the social time about how now that we're a little past the pandemic, things are opening up again. So that's wonderful. Trisha also has 2 instructional DVDs, Sea and Sand, and Waves and Rocks. And her knowledge of pastels and color has led to the development of her online course in Understanding Color. This is a 12-module course that you can take, and you can find it at Trisha's site called playingwithpastel.com. Those links are also on the APS website. Trisha also has a Seascape online course at the same site, which sounds amazing and exciting. Now also Unison Color Pastels, many of you are familiar with Unison Pastels, a handmade pastel company from the UK, has endorsed Trisha's artwork and created Trisha Taylor pastel sets in Seascape, Rock and Earth, and Sand Color. So Trisha is also an accredited Unison artist, and her tutorials are available on the Unison Pastel Academy site. So you can find those links on the APS site as well as Trisha's art website. And drawing and art have always been in Trisha's life. We heard a little bit about this earlier. Realism was her thing. Colored pencils, acrylics on canvas. But her early experience with finding pastel in the mid-1990s transformed Trisha from a detail-oriented super realist into an artist with a loose, impressionistic style, telling the story she wants to tell through her art. She said, "One painting and I was hooked. No longer could I use detail with this big, blunt stick of pastel. But my first result of Max the dog, I thought at the time, was amazing." She spoke about that earlier. Pastels were now it. No brushes to clean, no palette to wash. I put myself in the playpen and let my children run the house. I had found my medium. I think we can relate to this. Trisha then dedicated herself to the pastel medium, working with tutors, attending workshops, learning, followed by teaching and learning, always growing as an artist. Of pastel, she says, "The way pastel becomes your brush and the paper your palette is immediate and exciting to paint with. The subtle color effects you can gain by glazing one color over another gives great depth to the artwork. Combining watercolor and pastel in the ocean is a marriage made in heaven. They complement each other and give clarity to my artwork." Of her art, Trisha says, "My purpose is to shine a light into the community through art. Light has always fascinated me. It has so many meanings and significance in life. It brings clarity, hope, and unveils our path." She says there's something quite spiritual about putting your heart on the canvas. It is daunting. Fear of failure often consumes, but I find the why of your art is the key. I have a spirit within me that calls me to paint. It is my why. Now, in this demo and workshop, Tricia will show you that while it isn't easy being green or rendering this ever-present color, you need have no fear. Tricia will give you the tools and will show you all about green. And as Tricia says, explore, play, risk failure, find joy in accomplishments, but most of all, find your story and have fun. And with that, I present Tricia Taylor. And thank you again so much for being here with us. Over to you.
Thank you, Jennifer. And I love your background. I feel like painting it, all those greens.
Many times. Thank you.
All right, fantastic. Thank you for welcoming me here. I'll just share my screen. Oh, something has gone off. One moment.
Co-host, are you seeing just Tricia right now? Yes. A spotlight.
No, I see everybody.
Be sure you are on. Okay, I'm on speaker view.
Okay, there we go. Thank you.
Okay. I will have to share my desktop, the actual, always the way IT cameras play up when they want to, but I'll just do, boop, wrong one, come back. That one is what I'm trying to get to. So hopefully you can see my little board here.
Yes.
I thought I would start, sometimes terminology over countries changes, but color, to understand color, you need to understand that there's really only 4 attributes of color, and hue is one. That's what we normally call color: yellow, orange, red, blue, pink is hue. Tone, I know in the US it's often called value, but if I say tone during the demo, it'll be meaning either lighter or darker. Temperature. Temperature's the one that tricks a lot of people. Anyone have a lot of trouble with it? We'll understand a lot more of it after this demo. But every color has a warm side and a cool side. And if you think of a color wheel and just go, this is getting warmer and this is getting cooler, and warmer or cooler, it helps. I'll show a little demo shortly. And then intensity, that's the last way color can go. And that's just how high or rich a chroma it is, or how low intensity or gray or low chroma. There's lots of words for it. And hoping we all know, but if you don't, if you add the opposite color to your color, you will actually gray it down. So here, this is a red with green. We'll actually make it a gray green. That's where, sorry, I was in front of that. That gray green is where nature is. And we're going to play in here a lot to try and mix our own greens with using the bright, intense colors. All right. I'm just going to explain temperature a bit, because it is one of the most misunderstood, I would say, colors. I might just go to my palette for a second. Is that going to change? It's not, so we won't. I'll do it on the side. Sorry, always the best laid plans of things, and they go different when they're in front of you. Let's say this color here, it's deciding, is that warm or is it cool? Anyone want to give a go of an answer?
Warm.
Warm? Any other takers?
They're mostly on mute, Tricia.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Then if I put this next to it, now what would we call that?
Cool.
It's now looking cool.
Yep.
Where a minute ago we thought it was warm. But if I put another color next to it again, if I look at it now, it's warm. If I look at it now, It's cool.
Mhm.
And that's our problem, that no one color in isolation can really be thought of as warm or cool. It's too general as a thought, where we're going to say that temperature is a relationship between two colors, so that when I see two colors together, I can tell which one's warmer, which one's cooler. Same with this one, which one's warmer and which one's cooler, rather than thinking, is that particular thing warm or cool? So that's temperature in a nutshell. All right. Color. Wonderful green. Good old green. When you look at the color wheel itself, one of the problems with green is it takes up almost half the wheel. As soon as yellow gets dark, it's a greenish umber, so it's green. All the way through here is green. As soon as you put any yellow in blue, it feels green. Where the other side of the wheel, we think of violet, red violet, we even go pinks, oranges. There's all these different colors that we break it into, where this side, we treat it as green. And I think one of the major ones is realizing that dark yellow, if you add black to yellow, it's going to go greenish umber. So it feels like a green. Where are we? Even one of these, well, you probably can't see it there. That's a greenish umber. That's actually a dark yellow. Here's another one, a bit lighter. It's actually dark yellow, but we think it's green. So that's something to look for as well. But we'll be definitely thinking of more greens with yellow in it, or greens with blue in it. But the great thing is, those 4 attributes that we talked about a minute ago, green can only go in a couple of directions. You can go lighter and darker. We all get that light and dark tone pretty easy. We can understand it. But then it can only go warmer by adding yellow, cooler by adding blue, or grayer by adding red. And that's it. It can only go bluer, yellower, or redder. Sometimes if we add purple or violet, we're going to add both red and blue at the same time. So I'll actually get a cool gray. If I add an orange to it, I'm adding red and yellow at once. So I'm actually going to have a warm gray. So it's all still just red, yellow, and blue. And that's how my mind thinks with color. And what's going to happen is your palette just gets massive, because you can add a touch of bright orange to a green and it will calm it down and make it grayer. Okay. Now I'll just show you color mixing 101. And sometimes just getting into my head to understand where I come from in mixing color. If I show you red, yellow, blue, the theory is if I have some red and I have, let's go with this yellow. I have some yellow and let's go with this one, some blue. If I mix them together, I should get some violet. I should get violet, but in this instance, it's a pretty dull violet. If I go with the yellow and blue, it should make green. It's a pretty average kind of green. It's not very intense. Then last of all, this red and yellow should make orange. And yeah, it does. It makes a lovely rich orange. And the question is, why? Why does that stay rich, that's dull, and that's dull? They're not staying bright. And the reason is this red isn't just red. It's got a little bit of yellow in it. That yellow is not just yellow. It's got a little bit of red in it. The blue's not just blue. It's got a little bit of red in it. So when I add these things together, when I mix them together, this blue and this yellow both have a little bit of red in it. So I've not only got blue and yellow, but I've also got two little bits of red. That red is actually making that a grey-green. Over here, the red and the yellow and the yellow and the red, when I mix all them together, I've still only got red and yellow, and I've added a bit more yellow, I've added a bit more red. I've still only got yellow and red. So that's why that is staying a rich orange, is because there's no third primary in there. And over here, the same deal. We've got red and blue, but I've added a little bit of yellow and a little bit of red extra. So it's that yellow there that's actually making it a little bit grey. So that is why I use what's called a split primary wheel. So if I just use a little pen here, I'm just going to split those primaries down the middle. So this red is on the yellow side. This red, I'll use this one because it's, this red is on the blue side. This blue is on the red side. Let's see if I get a dark one. This blue is on the yellow side. And the yellows, the yellow on the red side. And this yellow is on the blue side. So if I actually split those, when I mix that yellow and that blue together, I'm actually going to create a very intense green. We've already seen the orange work together, but we'll just do him again. Now let's see what kind of violet this one makes. That's more a rich violet. I'll just join these yellows together so it feels like they're going around the wheel. And these blues. You can see how much richer that wheel is to this one. And it's because we're splitting our red, our yellow, and our blue to be what temperature of red, yellow, or blue it is, to figure out if it does have yellow in it, does it have red in it, does it have blue in it. That's what I base my color mixing on. That sort of makes sense. I suppose it can't reply to me, but hoping that helps make sense of color 101.
Yes, very much. Thank you.
Let's just mix a color then and see what happens. If I have this color here, if I try and get, well, there's two different ways to mix it. This particular way, if I name it, I can mix it. So it has a hue, it has a tone, it has a temperature, and it has an intensity. So if I had to name that hue, and you can't be wrong, it doesn't actually matter. I could name it violet, but I might call it, I'm going to call it blue. It's a mid-tone, borderline on going to a little bit dark in there. So it's a mid-dark. what temperature is it? Is it more towards the red side or the green side? And rather than calling it warm or cool, because there's a big argument over whether the blue with red in it's warm or the blue with yellow and it's cool. This one, I see more, it's on the red side. Intensity, it's a little bit grey. So if I actually get these pastels out, if I start with this one, and just get a mid blue out, about the same tone. That's close, but it needs a little bit more red in it. I've just got to get a red that's the same tone. This is what I call Goldilocks. If I do a mark on it, I'll show you that's too light. That's too dark. That's just right. It disappears. So I'll just brush those little lighter ones out. Dark one out. I'm just going to add a little bit of red to it, which is this color here I've chosen. Now it's a little bit grayer than that. What do I need to gray something down that's blue? If it's blue, I'll need orange. So if I go and grab a little bit of orange that is the same tone again, a bit light, that's better. So I'm just going to grey it down. And then put that back on top. And I'm just playing with that. That's pretty close. Might be a little bit bluer than that. So what I used was this and this and this to make it a little bit more on the red side and grey it down a little. And I can actually get it to the same colour. And you can do that with any colour whatsoever. If you go and name it, and you don't always have to pick the hue and the tone. You do always have to pick the tone, always. But with pastel, because in pastel, our tone is already mixed. But I could have picked the red first or the orange first and then built it that way. It makes no difference. I could have gone, okay, I know it's grey. You can even just get grey and start from grey if I only know the grey, and then say, but it's got some blue in it, but it's grayer than that. I'll even put orange in there, a little bit bluer. And now I'm getting close again. So it actually doesn't matter which one you start with. So long as you keep the tone right, you'll be able to mix. And that's with mixing pastel as well. I'm not sure how many newbies are in the room, but the way to mix pastels, the best way to not make mud, which we're all concerned about making mud, is sticking within our tones. That if have a light pastel and go, oh, actually it's really pink. No, it's not pink. Should be violet. No, I was right in the first place. It should be orange. It actually doesn't muddy up. But if I jump tone, if I start with this and say, no, actually it's darker than that, that's when you start making mud. They don't mix nice and it makes a real muddy color. But if I've got a dark pastel and I want to change it, and I say, actually, it's a little warmer than that. No, it's bluer than that. You can play within your tone and it doesn't go muddy. It's really quite amazing how it doesn't. but as soon as you jump tone, it's going to make mud. So that's why we paint tonally, and we try to keep it tonal, so that then we can adjust till our heart's content. So that's color 101. Let's see what we can do with some of these greens in a landscape I have here.